Hello, and welcome to the Tea and the Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
We're going to do a little news roundup for this episode, I think.
It's cue sound effect.
That's the high-quality sound effects you've come to expect from us.
Yes.
I might do something in post, but we'll see.
But probably not.
But probably not, no. So, the King Charles III coronation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's been moved up.
Where did we get... I think last time we talked about it and we said June something.
I was thinking June because...
No, but I saw that somewhere. I saw somewhere they were going, oh yeah, it's probably going to be June.
Yeah, because people had the same idea that I did, you know, because they were all speculating. They were all like, oh, he's going to have it in June, just like his mum.
I thought there was some sort of like official rumor going around.
I mean, maybe it was, but I kind of came to it from like, oh yeah, it sounds like he's going to have it next year. He'll have it in June. Mm. But, you know, and that's when everybody was like, oh, June, yeah, he's going to do it then, you know. But now it's May the 6th. Well, 6th of May.
May 6th. Okay.
2023. That's the official date. It's been locked in. So mark it in your calendars. It's going to be 16 hours.
16 hours.
Live coverage of everything that's going on.
That's Archie's birthday, apparently.
That's Archie's birthday.
Yeah.
Yep.
I saw a headline somewhere. It was an article, like, on Cosmopolitan magazine.
Yeah.
But it was on the internet. I just read the headline. I did not read the article because I figured it was a load, you know.
It was a load.
Yeah, but it was something about... He was not going to invite Meghan and Harry to the coronation. Like, and it was just like, oh yeah, he chose that date to sort of like, I don't know.
Snub them.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
Well, I just read an article. From Marie Claire.
Oh yeah.
And they said, according to OK Magazine, if Queen Consort Camilla has her way, Has and Megs will be at the coronation in hopes of healing the continually fractured family dynamics between the Sussexes and the rest of the family.
Oh, well, there we go. Camilla's all about it.
Camilla's doing the business behind the scenes. She's trying to cajole them all to keep together.
Probably,
you know,
she's like,
let's
get
present
Harry and Meghan back in because I don't
back on board.
I don't want to have to be doing all these ribbon cuttings.
Don't want to have to be doing anything. As little as possible. So just give them a job and tell them to go open that supermarket in Windbourne.
Yeah. They had some sort of meeting, didn't they? I think that was official. Meghan met with King Charles.
When? Recently?
Privately. Yeah. Just before they came back over here.
Well, they're always having some sort of family meeting.
No, it was just her and him. She just wanted to meet with him privately.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about. You know?
I mean, maybe just to kind of like just, you know, make sure everything, you know, like, oh, we're not doing this and this is not happening. And
maybe they chose Archie's birthday, like, together as, like, okay, this is a thing.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's all media speculation.
Yeah, yes.
With, oh, they're having a fight. Mm-hmm. William doesn't like Harry. And Meghan doesn't like Kate. Mm-hmm. And, oh, it's all fractured and all,
I also saw something about, I guess William and Kate are coming over here, or is it just Kate and she's hoping to hang out with Harry and Meghan and, like, mend...
Something, yeah. Maybe they're going to do an official tour, I guess.
I don't know what it is.
It won't be just Kate coming over here. I don't think it'll be him, too.
I don't know.
But, I mean, he's got to plan for the coronation now, anyway. That's one of his jobs.
Oh, here.
Prince of Wales, yeah. He's going to help plan it. Because he's going to be playing a role in it, too,
yeah,
so, you know.
Whatever that means. He's going to bust out his guitar.
He's going to bust out his guitar.
Sing a little ditty.
Yeah, like Hugh Grant in About a Boy. And he's going to he's going to close the whole show.
I saw,
And if Harry and Has and Megs come... Right, he's going to do a book reading from his book at the coronation. He's going to get up in the Abbey. He's going to get up in the Abbey and he's going to say, just going to read you a few passages here from chapter 3.
I just want to read you something.
The good bits. Bit of publicity here, you know. Because his book will be out by then, and I think their
God.
Netflix series will be too.
I think
something.
I saw.
So they'll be doing promotions when they're over here.
And I never read these articles, you guys, because I just think they're a load of crap. It was something like publishers are disappointed with the book because it doesn't gel. It doesn't gel. So I'm thinking the book maybe isn't going to be as harsh as everybody's hoping for it to be.
No, I have a feeling when he, around the time of before the Oprah interview, things were at their most tense. So if he'd written anything back then, and published
he's pulled it.
He's pulled it, or the lawyers have come in and said, well, if you put that out there, we can easily deny it and sue you for libel. And, it's not, there's no facts here. It's just your version of events. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to actually, because he's still got a lease on the Frogmore Cottage.
Yeah.
So he's still domiciled in the UK. He hasn't completely cut ties with the UK.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he just wanted to get out of there because of the press intrusion. Mm-hmm. He didn't want, but the press were like, well, he hates his family.
Yeah.
And Meghan hates them too, so they're leaving because of that. And of course, then they did the Oprah interview when they were talking about, oh yes, there was talk about the, they made up these revelations of, there's talk about the color of what color's Archie gonna be and all this kind of stuff. And they didn't say who it was that said that, but that was, shocking, shocking news here,
Yeah.
And so I think after all that was like in the midst of everything. And it's like they've calmed down now. And so maybe if they had a private meeting, Meghan and Charles, the king told her, okay,
maybe I'm
prepared to let you come back to court if you stop this nonsense,
Yeah.
Because you don't want to turn into Andrew and Fergie.
Maybe it was him who said the comment, and maybe he apologized.
Maybe. Yeah, we have
idea.
no idea, except it will be on season 8 of The Crown.
Okay, here's another bit of news that I don't know if you have heard.
What?
Kate Middleton has been seen in nothing but pants since the Queen died, except for one time she wore a dress. This is the news.
This is it. This is the news. This is the news that you, our beloved listeners, tune in for. That Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, has been seen nothing but pants since the Queen died.
She's just wearing black slacks most of the time, and everyone is very disappointed. She looks so boring.
I think that's a nod to the Queen. I think didn't the Queen at one point say, I just want to wear trousers all the time?
When did we ever see the Queen in trousers?
She didn't. She couldn't. She wasn't allowed to. I just want to wear trousers. I wanted to wear trousers.
When did she say that?
She said it to me. And she says, I want pockets. Dominic, I want pockets too. And she did like pockets apparently, because she got about a year ago, maybe, she had like a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, just take a few photos of me with my hands in my pockets, because I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
In photos, it's always been with the bag or with my hands clasped or doing some jazz hands, It's just like one of those things, I've never been able to put my hands in my pockets and just do it, And that's what she did,
Well, and where are these pictures?
They're out there on the internet.
Oh, I didn't think I've seen them.
I'll look them up and I'll show you.
I thought that was...
I think it was from about a year ago.
I thought that was a riveting bit of information, that Kate Middleton's just been in pants all the time.
A nod to the late
Apparently
Queen.
It's something to do with, she's down to business. They're doing business now.
Business.
Yeah, it's something like that,
She can't be showing her legs.
Gone are the frivolous dresses. She means
the
business
frivolous
now.
Dresses. Gone are the high heels.
But they're complaining because her outfits are so boring. Oh, and she's known for her outfits. I'm like, is she? I usually see people complaining that her dresses are fairly boring. compared to like Meghan, who's, you know, quite high fashion a lot of the time when she's
perfect for the royal family.
I think so.
She does their brand no end of good, you know?
Yeah.
And
she just does what she's told, basically.
Yes. And I mean, she's been coached, she's been mentored, you know, to play the role of one day being queen consort or queen, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, because when she's giving an interview, she's doing the with the hands, you know, you know, the out and every other word, you know.
Yeah.
Going like that, like a politician.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just go in like that.
Because I mean, they can't see. But she's got her fingertips, you know, like kind of clasped together, and then just doing like a quick burst, and then it's like, duh, you know. I mean, every time you see her, it's like a politician talk, you know. It's just like, what we'd like to do is get back to basics, and we'll talk a bit more about the politics later on.
Yeah, well, quickly before we move on though, when you were talking about Harry's book, I do want to ask you guys, let us know if you plan on reading his book. I'm just curious, like, who's reading this book? You know,
everybody will read this book.
You think so?
The people who love the royals will read the book, and the Daily Mail will pick it up, and they'll find a little passage in there that's a little bit, because it's not going to be hugely revelatory.
No, I don't think so.
It's not going to be, and I said this, and he said that, and then I said this, and he couldn't say anything. Because I just said it, and I've stormed out of there, and I grabbed Meghan, and we went to the airport after all that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, it's not going to be anything kind of like intimate details of rows. Because he's now the king, you know, Charles.
Yeah.
So he's not going to go against him, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it does, like, if they're like, oh, the money, and the publishers are probably very disappointed. Netflix is disappointed, you know, and it's just like
disappointed.
It's like we thought we were gonna get the actual Crown, the version of events from the Crown. We didn't have to make it up.
Yeah,
but it's just like like we do with the Crown. But there's more on that later too.
But yeah, let us know. I don't know whether I'll read it or not. I'll probably just wait for everybody to talk about it on TikTok. Everybody will just be going through all the major points
because this is
TikTok,
his book. It's not her.
Yeah.
They'd be more interested in reading something from Megs, I think.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know, Megs is tell-all, you know?
Yeah.
Like what actually happened. Oh, look what she said.
Wait for that.
You
and,
know?
and then the Lifetime movie to follow.
They think, though, that of course, it's all going to be down to Harry and Meghan whether they're going to turn up at the coronation.
Yeah. And
people are there going, oh, well, he might not even attend the coronation because it'll be in Westminster, unless it's somewhere else other than Westminster Abbey.
Yeah.
Because that's where his mother's funeral was, and it's a very difficult place to see his dad get crowned with the woman he married, and, you know, next to him getting crowned too.
Yeah.
And it's it's a big thing, and he won't want to watch that, and he won't be there for that.
I think there was a little bit of a
difficult
thing.
memories.
There was a little bit of a thing for the boys with Camilla at first, wasn't there?
Well, yes.
Was like the typical kind of stepmom, stepkids relationship.
All the revelations that came out in the media about their affair.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, Camilla being Camilla, you know? Because there was stories about her dating back to the 60s, you know?
Yeah.
But as I mentioned before, Netflix has come under criticism from ex-Prime Minister John Major.
Oh, okay.
Due to the forthcoming Series 5 of The Crown, which is going to air November 9th, I think it's going to be coming out.
Why?
There's a couple of scenes in there, because, you know, this series is dealing with the 90s, which was a very tumultuous decade for the royal family.
Yeah.
I mean, 1992 was the Queen's Annus Horribilis.
Yeah, but what does John Major care?
John Major cares because Johnny Lee Miller is now playing him in The Crown.
Okay.
You know who Johnny Lee Miller is, don't you?
Sherlock,
yeah. So he's playing John Major in The Crown, and...
Sherlock, the American Sherlock,
yes.
by the way.
I mean, did anyone watch that?
Well, you did.
I did, but did anyone but me watch it? Because I remember I watched the first thing and it was okay, and then I seem to remember they got rid of Lucy Liu.
Oh, I think that was quite a lot later, actually. I think it went on.
It went on for
seasons.
a couple of seasons, but I remember watching.
So somebody was watching,
and he just looked sad, and he was bald, and he was just there going, "Oh yes, this is how I worked out the crime." And I was like, "What? This is very cheap now." They can't even afford a wig for him.
It's cheap because they got rid of Lucy Liu.
Got
cheap.
They got rid of Lucy Liu, and Johnny Lee Miller's there with his shaved head, just going, "Oh yes, I'm trying to convince people I'm Sherlock Holmes."
But does him having a shaved head have anything to do with it?
Well, it's not Sherlock, is it? You know, you think of Sherlock, you think he's got hair.
No, you don't. You think he's got a cap on.
No. Look at
I don't think
Benedict
Sherlock
Cumberbatch as Sherlock has ruined everything. Because he had that long kind of like wavy locks of hair.
I don't think about Sherlock.
Sherlocks! But anyway, Johnny Lee Miller's playing John Major in The Crown. And there's a scene, I mean, this is spoilers. So potential spoilers for people who don't want to be spoiled, but this is kind of...
I don't know what happened in the 90s.
I don't know what happened in the 90s, but there's a scene which apparently depicts a plot to oust the late Queen. And that was a barrel of malicious nonsense, according to John Major. Said the scene is said to include a conversation between the former Prime Minister, John Major, and Prince Charles, as he was then, about the Queen abdicating. And they're just like, oh, there was never any such discussion, you know, vehemently denying it. It's just a load of fiction.
Well, that's interesting, though.
And it's like, so there was a discussion.
Yeah,
because they're so vehemently denying it, you know?
Because The Crown kind of, I mean, by most people's accounts, it's fiction, but it's
based on fact.
Yeah. It's fictionalized.
It's fictionalized. It's historical drama. Yeah, I mean, really, now. I mean, because that was 30 years ago now, so.
When I say that, I mean that I don't think that there have been any storylines that they've just completely made up.
No, there's always been some sort of like... And Netflix came out and said, listen, yeah, this is a drama. This is a fictionalized drama.
Okay,
you know,
so they're admitting that this didn't happen.
No. They're just saying that the whole show is a drama based on factual events.
Right, okay.
And it's like this kind of... We're basing this on what journalists thought at the time.
Yeah.
And what was written at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
what palace insiders
were maybe saying at the time. You know, so... John Major and Prince Charles met at Highgrove. And, you know, this was in, like, 1991. And I imagine it was probably...
To make the Queen quit and install him as king, like, right
Well,
then,
maybe just as... she's got to abdicate family. Because, you know, she won't let me live my life or whatever, you know. There was all this kind of stuff going on.
The way she was behaving around the death of Diana, possibly, maybe?
No. This was pre-Diana's death. This was when they were separating.
Oh, okay.
So... when Diana and Charles were separating, and Charles, you know, was, you know, oh, you've got to stay with her, you know, and he's like, no, I want to be with Camilla.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll do a Henry VIII, install me, and I'll just...
I'll do a Henry VIII.
I'll do a Henry VIII, and I'll install me as king so I can divorce her, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, but it was kind of like that kind of thing, you know, maybe she said something to him at that time.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no, she's losing the plot, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Which
at this time,
isn't it? I mean,
because Anne was getting divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew was getting divorced.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, all families go through, like, stressful periods, don't they? You know?
Yeah.
Where people are fighting. I think that was the main thing, like, with the Harry and Meghan stuff and them going to Oprah and all of that. It's like, yeah, maybe there was some horrible stuff going on, but sometimes there's horrible stuff that goes on between family members, you know?
There is, yeah.
And it's like you get past it or you don't, and it should be private, really. And I think probably the same is true with the Queen. Like, everybody I know puts her on this kind of pedestal.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure she told him.
Wrong,
I'm sure she was telling him, no, you're not going to do that, Charles.
Yeah.
You're not going to divorce Diana.
Yeah.
You're not going to marry Camilla.
Yeah.
you know, your love of your life or whatever, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think she was also getting a divorce at the time, Camilla. And it's like, they didn't want her because, I mean, she was part of the, like, set, but she was a bit raunchy. And I think that's why Charles liked her. I mean, that's
it
what...
doesn't really seem to go with him, though, does it? I mean,
that's it. You know, that's everybody says, oh, yes, he used to wait at the palace gates and chase her around and stuff like that. And, of course, there was that 1989 telephone call that came out.
Don't even.
And I mean, that came out, like, all that kind of stuff was coming out around that time. Yeah, just Google it if you want to read the transcript of that. It was a tapped phone conversation between them.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's like all that kind of stuff was going on at that time. And so I can imagine it was a very tumultuous, decade.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, 1992 was my annus horribilis,
Yeah.
And then in 1997, or in 1995, Diana did that interview, which confirmed everything.
Yeah.
And then in 1997, she died.
Yeah.
And it was just like a terrible decade that, the 90s weren't groovy for them.
Yeah.
The 90s weren't like, oh yes, the 90s, yeah, the great 90s. And it's just like, no, it was pretty terrible for the royal family because it was just one disaster after another.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's just, so I can imagine there's going to be a lot to cover in that season.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I don't know. We'll see.
And John Major was there for most of it, 1990 to 1997.
I just wonder why they decided to keep going.
Well,
I mean, I know, okay, the Queen died, but it's like they knew she was old, and they were like, oh, we're going to stop it, but now they've decided...
they're going to...
stop. It's going to be like, what, 2 more series?
No. It's going to be this one, and then the next one will be the end.
Okay.
It'll go up until the early 2000s, and then finish.
Okay. Because this one was supposed to be the last one, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be, but then they realized, we've got too much material to cover in one season.
Yeah.
So we'll have to, make another season, and we may as well just take it up until, Golden Jubilee or whatever,
Yeah.
Or maybe, I mean, I have no idea where they're going to end it. They could end it with the marriage of William and Kate,
Yeah. I think it is going to go almost that far, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it,
But anyway.
Anyway, speaking of the government.
Yeah. We should move on, because I know not all our listeners care about the royal family.
They don't care about the royal family, they care about the government
of
the United Kingdom.
You guys. I mean, we have to...
Yeah.
We can't
We can't not talk about this.
Can't.
We have people who do enjoy it, know, and we do get messages from people wanting us to talk about the royal family, wanting to talk about Harry and Meghan in particular, or, Charles or Andrew or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah.
The government is quite as interesting /
the government...
messy as the royal family.
My feelings on that...
And at least... It doesn't make me feel so bad about our government. Let's just put it that way.
It's been a crazy couple of months.
What is the word?
Annus horribilis.
Horribilis.
It's a horrible year. I mean, Boris is gone. He's no longer Prime Minister.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay. I think the Conservative Party wanted him to stay.
Who was Liz Truss in the government?
Oh, she was Foreign Secretary.
Okay.
Immediately preceding.
Which is what Boris Johnson was. Ugh, I can't remember now. Foreign Secretary is like our Secretary of State? Is that a similar position?
Yes.
I think so.
Or maybe that's Home Secretary. What's the Home Secretary over here?
Maybe it is Home Secretary.
Secretary of State should be Home Secretary.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
Because
so.
I mean, it's the official title is Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, and
Okay.
So they just call him the Foreign Secretary, and the Home Secretary is the one who's.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's maybe that's like our Secretary of State then.
But the Foreign Secretary is foreign. So if you're foreign secretary or home secretary or secretary of health or the chancellor of the exchequer, which is like treasury.
Okay.
They
all sound like Harry Potter kind of positions, like
because it's a parliamentary system. It's different over here. Yeah, it's all very much like, I forget the terms and stuff. The different terms and all that. But yeah, no, nobody wanted to like take over the job. They wanted Boris to stay. Yeah. Nadine Dorries, who was culture secretary.
When you say nobody, you mean in the Tory government.
In the Tory government, yeah. No, everybody else wanted him to go.
Yeah.
But nobody in the Tory government wanted him to go.
Right.
Because it was very lackluster. They had Rishi Sunak, who was the Chancellor, and Liz Truss, and it came down to them in the Tory party, in the Conservative Party, that, were going to be leader. And Liz Truss won out.
I mean, because you compare him to Liz Truss, right? And he's a character. He's a personality.
Liz Truss is not a personality. No. Liz Truss has been characterized as a robot and Margaret Thatcher clone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just kind of like, yeah, she's trying to be Margaret Thatcher and not doing a very good job at it.
Yeah.
And he's like, nobody wants to be Margaret Thatcher.
It's funny, at the Queen's funeral, I think, was it on Have I Got News for You? When they showed some Australian news program, like, commentating on who is coming in.
Oh, these are some minor royals or something turning up now. I'm not sure who that is.
Who these are. So we must be at the end.
Yeah, we must be at the pointy end.
The fringe people, basically.
The fringe people. Don't know who these are. They don't look familiar. Oh, it's just told that that's the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. And it's like, yeah, so was the Queen, and it's just kind of like she as soon as she went into office and then, everything was suspended, The energy crisis doesn't exist. The Queen has died. We're in a 2-week period of mourning. Nobody saw her,
Yeah.
And then, of course, then she came back and she thought, I'll do some
everybody was like, where's
grassroots.
The Prime Minister? Where's she?
Yeah. I'll do some grassroots interviews on local BBC radio stations, regional BBC radios. All of them had their 15 minutes of fame giving her what for.
Oh, yeah.
Where have you been and where have you been,
Yeah.
And what have you been doing and why have you been just taking a holiday and stuff. Yeah. And she's just answering it like a politician. She's just, what I think is we need to get back to doing this.
I just thought that in itself was really interesting because, I don't know, you would never hear President Biden being interviewed on local Austin radio station.
Well, no,
you know what I mean?
he's a head of state, and the president. It's a presidential system. It's like you're never gonna hear that. I mean, that would be a coup for a local radio station.
Yeah.
We got the president in for an interview.
I mean, that was just
he's in town and he wants to do it, so let's do it.
That was so crazy when they were talking about, this is just local whatever, Norfolk radio station.
It was BBC Radio Leeds or something.
And it's just like, what? They're talking to the Prime Minister? It's just so crazy.
Because but yeah, again, she didn't say anything of note. It was just people attacking her and then her pausing and then giving the party line,
And so what is it? Basically, she campaigned to become Prime Minister.
She campaigned to become leader of the Conservative Party, which at this point is, the Prime Minister because the Conservative Party are in government.
Okay, yeah.
And, I mean, it's down to
she campaigned on the basis of... basically like a George H.W. Bush, no new taxes type thing, right? Like, read my lips, no, there will be no new taxes or something like that.
Yeah.
Or we're going to have tax cuts or whatever. And, then they got in power and...
Well, she got in power. What happened was she got in power and then her first thing was... to announce this, various tax cuts in a mini budget, which was completely and utterly criticised. She appointed Kwasi Kwarteng as the Chancellor, and, there was these various tax cuts in a mini budget. I won't go into the whole thing.
Yeah.
but it was very, very unpopular, and it tanked the British economy, and and the pound fell to the lowest it's ever been against a dollar.
Well, they promised all of this, right? And then they were like, okay, now we have
Then
to
she's
come
done
up with the money.
Well, we have to come up with the money for this, and it's like, we can't do that.
Yeah, we don't have.
We
the
told
money
you
to
we couldn't do this,
yeah.
But she's like, oh no, Quasi can do it, and it's like very unpopular. So she does a U-turn on it, and she sacks Quasi. Quasi's out.
And
he's the shortest chancellor in, I think, since someone else
and this is
who died in the role.
Actually, we're gonna have to impose a new tax on corporations.
There was something about a tax. It was something about, that. And then she...
Which is fine for, I think, Labour government, but not really popular amongst...
no, it's not really a conservative... No, I don't know what they're doing. She was going to do that, and she was going to... And it just basically failed. And what happened is she got rid of Quasi, and he's gone now, and she appointed Jeremy Hunt, and who promptly said, you know what, we're going to scrap everything. Well, almost all of that mini budget plan.
Yeah.
We're not going to do any of that.
Yeah.
And so everybody's going, well, he's just gone against what she's just come up with this. And then she's had to appoint someone who's going to say, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So what is the point of her?
Yeah. And so they asked her to resign, didn't they?
There's been calls for her to resign, yeah, and she may be forced to resign, because she says, oh, I'm not resigning.
Yeah, she said she wasn't going to.
And it's like she's trying to wait out.
That's my favorite thing, I think, about the way that the British government works, is that,
they may have to call an election, and the Tories will lose.
I love that. It's just like, if the person in there is not delivering on the things that they said and everybody's unhappy, like, let's just have a new election and, maybe...
Generally, a general election is every 5 years,
Yeah, but it can happen anytime, right? Like, if...
It could happen anytime. They could decide, we're going to call a snap election now.
Yeah.
Because my polls are high. Yeah, but it's a political thing. We're going to call an election. We're going to get everyone out there. And, my polls are high, and I'll win, and I'll be,
give me another 5 years.
Buy me another 5 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is what Boris did.
Yeah.
And with Truss, if I'm not going to resign. If she called for an election now, the Tory government would lose. Because I think Labour are ahead in the polls by a vast majority.
But, and again, not to get, too deep into politics here, because I know definitely not everybody's into that either, but the problem supposedly with the Labour Party in Britain right now is that
they're being led by Keir Starmer.
Yeah, there's no true outstanding leader, right?
Well, I mean, he's just kind of ineffectual to me.
Yeah, inspiring. I suppose,
no, he's not inspiring at all. He's boring.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you need a boring politician. Maybe you need someone who's like,
Maybe, because I think...
Maybe we're back to the days of James Callaghan
and... Jeremy Corbyn, right? Jeremy Corbyn? Wasn't that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, most of the far left liked him.
Yeah, but he was too far left.
He was too far left even for the Labour Party. And unfortunately,
And so he was, like they say, unelectable.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same way they used to say about Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, he's unelectable.
Yeah, unelectable because he's too radical.
He's too radical on this, and yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's the way to get in, is have somebody boring that people are uninspired by.
Yeah, because... I mean, it's very likely
for a lot of people.
It's very likely that Keir Starmer could be the next prime minister.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Interesting. Let's move on from the royal family and politics, though.
To
entertainment.
Entertainment
news.
And entertainment news. Well, 2 big names have recently passed on.
Oh no! Let's move on to something fun. How about let's talk about who's died?
Well, Angela Lansbury, she was 96.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Angela Lansbury is gone. She was born in London, of Irish heritage. And her first film role was in Gaslight. And we watched it the other night. You said, oh no, I didn't watch it. I was like, yeah, we did.
Maybe I slept.
Yeah, you may have slept through it, I think.
Did we finish it? I don't know.
Maybe we didn't finish it, but I definitely remember her being in it. And then, she had, she was in Blue Hawaii.
Was she?
She was Elvis's mother in that.
Oh, God. Was she?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Oh, my God.
She played Elvis's mother in Blue Hawaii in 1961.
She wouldn't have been all that much older.
Gaslight was 1944, so...
She wouldn't have been all that much older than Elvis, though, would she?
About 10 years.
Poor thing. She was in...
The Manchurian Candidate, then, was her big role.
Oh, was it?
Then, that same year. And, and then she went into, stage and stuff like that. And
didn't we see her in, oh, you know what she was in?
What?
I was watching one night, and I was like, is that Angela Lansbury? Because she was very, very young. Oh, gosh. It was a Judy Garland movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was like... Oh, I can't remember which one it was. But I'm sure that was the youngest I've seen her. And we looked it up, and it was her. This was eons ago. I can't remember.
It was late 40s or something, maybe.
Was she also in the Poirot one with Maggie Smith? Where they were all kind of young in that? It came on one night. I don't think we watched it, though.
Oh, I don't know.
The one where they're on the train.
Murder on the Orient Express?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Okay. But that's funny because she, considering her later career, because, she was in Manchurian Candidate, and then, of course, she did a Disney film, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Oh, that was one of my favorite movies when I was little.
And, she did Beauty and the Beast in 91 as Mrs. Potts.
Oh, yeah.
And she was in that Mary Poppins Returns in 2018.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was playing the role that should have been played by Julie Andrews, I think.
Okay.
The bag lady or the flower lady or something.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like she was supposed to be Julie Andrews, but Julie Andrews didn't want to play, didn't want to do it. But yeah, so she's got that Disney thing. But she also played in a couple of Poirots in the 70s. Yeah. Or maybe Agatha Christie type things. And she was Miss Marple in 1980.
That's funny.
And then, of course, they built a whole show around her with Murder, She Wrote, and that was hugely successful.
Where she was an Agatha Christie type
She was an Agatha Christie type character who solved murders.
Yeah.
So it was that was that, and that ran from 84 to and she did specials to 2003. It was a bit like Columbo, it's that was what she was known for. And apparently she's going to be in the new Knives Out film, or is in it, because I think that's been released this year.
She was always just a little witch to me, though. Whenever I saw her, yeah, because that was probably the first thing I ever saw her in when I was a kid, And it was just like, oh yeah, she's fun.
Yeah.
She could take me riding on a bed.
Yeah.
Through the ocean,
Yeah, and of course, when she died, the story of her daughter almost becoming embroiled with Charles Manson came out.
Oh, God. She
goes, oh yeah, and it was in the late 60s. So I upended the whole family, uprooted them to Ireland to get away from him,
And get him the heck out of LA.
Yeah. That's where she died in LA, so... Yeah, she's always...
She came back later.
She came back later on, yeah.
It's like, oh, Charles Manson, he's been arrested. Okay, we can go back now.
Yes. Another sad death was the death of Robbie Coltrane.
That one was shocking.
And
I didn't know he was sick.
Yeah, he's been ill for the past couple of years, apparently.
What was that, cancer?
No, I think he was just health problems. He was very overweight, and, he had diabetes and everything like that, Well, I think he had diabetes anyway. He had a multitude of, health problems. As far as I was aware, he had something wrong with his knee. And so he was in hospital.
Yeah.
And so he'd been, and when they did that Return to Hogwarts, he didn't look too well in that, Yeah. But yeah, as he got his start on British TV, and
Robbie Coltrane was Hagrid.
He was Hagrid, yeah. Or Hagrid. 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 he got his start on British TV in the early 1980s, and he was in Al Fresco with Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, and Emma Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like a sketch show. And he was also in National Lampoon's European Vacation. He was the guy in the bedroom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was he in Blackadder?
Yeah, that was another. He was he was Dr. Johnson, Dr. Samuel Johnson in the third one, and he was also the Christmas ghost in the Blackadder Christmas Carol.
He makes a perfect Christmas ghost.
Which was, he looked like Hagrid in it. So.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we said that, didn't we?
It's Hagrid!
Yeah, we were like, I bet this is where they kind of got his idea for Hagrid,
But I remember him from Blackadder and stuff like that, but I remember him playing Fitz in this show called Cracker.
Oh, yeah.
In the 90s, it was kind of like a homage to Columbo, actually, that show. It was like, he was like this guy who was brilliant at his job, and it was very popular, and solved crimes and stuff,
Yeah.
And, he played that role for a couple of years, and I think they did a one-off special in the early 2000s. But, he was also in the James Bond franchise.
Was he?
Yeah, he
Who
was
he in?
KGB. He was in a couple of Pierce Brosnan films.
Okay.
Valentin Zukovsky.
Didn't he did some sort of politician thing that we just watched.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
National Treasure, it was called.
Yeah.
It was kind of like based on the Me Too movement. He played this politician that was loved. Yeah. And then all these allegations came out and completely tanked his career and his reputation and everything. And he had to kind of like, it was kind of like It wasn't a true story, was it? Well, I mean, it was based on true stories.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So, it was based basically on the whole, like, you're a national treasure because you've been in the public eye for so long, and then suddenly,
Yeah.
this stuff comes out about you,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, his famous role was Rubeus Hagrid.
Yeah.
That was his legacy, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Hogwarts legacy.
Probably one of the most beloved characters.
I think so, yeah.
From the whole franchise. Yeah, so that's sad. Two magical people,
Magical, mystical, magical.
Yeah, like, someone gets to be 96, and it's like, it's still sad that you've lost them, but they've lived a nice long life there, But, But to me, 72 is still fairly young.
Yeah, no, I mean, he hadn't done anything for a while. I think Effie Gray was the last thing he'd done. I mean, like, film-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Which was in 2014, and, the National Treasure was in 2016, but he'd been ill off and on, because he used to turn up to conventions and stuff.
Oh, did he?
Harry Potter stuff. And
we need to go to a Harry Potter convention sometime.
And he was in a wheelchair, and people were like,
God, yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so it was something to do with, like, he had, like, knee problems all his life, and, he had to, like, have surgery on it. But, of course, there was other things wrong with him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They haven't released an official, like, cause of death, but he'd been ill for the past 2 years, apparently, is what they said.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Speaking of, like, mystical magical.
Yes.
To get on to something finally happy to end on. A little happy note.
Yes.
There's a new Hocus Pocus.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I don't think we've talked about. And Hocus Pocus is so interesting because it's huge over here. It's got an absolutely huge cult following, but I don't think it's anything in Britain, or wasn't. It probably
I don't think I'd seen it before coming over here.
Yeah, or ever heard of it or anything.
Because, there's going to be, like, Disney movies that you think, oh, yeah, they're international and beloved.
I'm not even sure it was Disney in the first place, though, originally. I don't think it was Disney.
It seems like a Disney movie.
You think so?
Yeah.
Maybe it was, but I don't know.
But, yeah, no, I mean, Halloween and stuff like that.
That's true, yeah.
It's not as big a deal. I mean, it might be starting to become, but that's kind of like, what do they call it? The merging of cultures and the internet making the world just monotone or monoculture or whatever they call it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's Disney Plus in Britain, so
yeah, it's actually just been released.
Is probably
a
thing now, I would think. And we recently watched the second one because I always loved Hocus Pocus. It's just such a fun kind of like, I don't know, it could be cheesy really easily, like it's kind of stuff you find on Disney that's for kids or whatever, but it just wasn't somehow. It was just such a fun kind of little classic Halloween movie, and there's not really any others that I can think of. I guess some people would say that Halloween Town. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, I never heard of it.
But other than that, there's just like, scary horror movies and stuff for Halloween traditionally. So
like Halloween and Michael Myers and all that. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, I know it's the same thing, but it's like, I'm just talking about Halloween, but the Halloween films,
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Mm-hmm. But you enjoyed the second one, didn't you? We won't say too much about it.
The second one was
haven't seen it yet.
Cute, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more of the same, really, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, actually, but in a good way. Like, I wasn't really expecting much, to be honest. If you guys haven't seen it, when they were talking about that there was a sequel, I'm just never really excited for sequels. I'm just not. They're never as good. They never capture, what the first one was.
It's kind of like with all the same characters and stuff, with the same actors. Yeah. Which is what Hocus Pocus was, it had all the same.
Yeah, it had everybody. And they looked pretty good, and the story was a decent story. Yeah. And, I think they did very, very well with it. Like, I think they did very well, yeah. What's his name from Veep was in it?
Oh, yeah, a couple of people from Veep were in it.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah.
Tony Hale.
Uh-huh.
And, the other guy. Can't remember his name.
He was like, what was he? PR. He was a PR guy.
He was a PR guy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I forgot both of them were from Veep. Yeah, so it just had some really good new characters, and the storyline was pretty cohesive, I thought, to the original, and
Sam Richardson.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
I guess I didn't know his name, actually.
Yeah, Tony Hale and then Sam Richardson were in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen that and you enjoyed the first Hocus Pocus.
Amok.
Yes. I'd say we recommend it.
Yeah, we recommend. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty cute times.
Yeah.
The cutest times.
So definitely check that out. I'd say it's worth watching for sure. It was up there with the first one for me anyway. So, I don't know. I think, have we about covered everything?
I think we've about covered everything.
I think
we're quite a lot over time now. We're 2 hours over time.
Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. Be sure to follow us on social media if you don't already. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.